Okay, so that's enough of the theory, enough of quality. Let's dive into the engagement planning. And what we're going to do is begin to use the template that we worked with, and we're going to begin to look at these 5 steps in the engagement plan. We're going to look at context. How do you begin to understand the story so far? We're going to look at the scope. Yeah, how do you get really clear about what's the purpose of your engagement? We're going to look at people. How do you get a better sense of who the people are? We're going to look at process. What are the techniques? What are the methods you're going to use to get out to the community? And then we're going to look at the messages. Yeah, what are you going to say when you get out there and how you're going to define that? You could add another one which is about evaluating the work that you do, but for now these 5 will hold us in really good stead. So context. You know, the interesting thing about context is it can change the meaning of any kind of situation. Yeah, if the man in this photo isn't the lady's partner, yeah, the meaning of the photo could be very, very, very different. So context, understanding the broader setting, is super important to anything that we do, which means it's also really important to engagement planning. And when it comes to context, there are 5 things that we really want to begin to look at, 5 things we want to begin to explore. It's really good to actually just step back a bit and start off with this idea of, well, what are the global trends? What are the things that actually begin to affect how communities around the world might be behaving, might be responding? You know, CRCs are doing a really important job in terms of some of the economic activity, in terms of some of the social capacity building. What are some of the global trends around economic development and capacity building in regional communities in other parts of the world? Yeah, what are some of those global trends, and how do they inform the services or what you might have as conversations with the community? What's the history? What's the history of this project? You know, if you're kind of working on the CRCs, what's that relationship long term with the community? How do the community feel about you? Do you have an accurate picture of how they feel about you? What's the history of this community? Yeah, what's this community been up against? What have they faced? Who's been out there and consulted in the past? What's their views? What's their conflict? What's their strengths? And do we have a good understanding of that community history? And then it's about you as an organisation. What's your organisation's view on the community? What's your view on engagement? What's your view on what you're wanting to get out of this process? All really important parts of the context. And then finally, it's about the heat. Yeah, to go, well, where are the hotspots? Where are the points in our engagement planning or the engagement process that things could get unstuck, where it could actually go a bit astray? Where are the delicate conversations that we're going to need to have? All of those become important context before we dive in to engagement planning. Let me introduce you to Bungally Up CRC. You may not have heard about them just yet. They're a new upcoming CRC, and I've given them a bit of a helping hand and developed an engagement plan for them. So what I want to walk you through briefly is the context about them, because you'll then see how that then plays out as we begin to design their actual engagement plan. So they're just west of Carnarvon. They're about 1,500 people. They love their fishing. It's actually one of their main industries, tourism, and of course they're famous for their Bungally Up pies. However, fishing stocks have gone down, there's a bit of a downturn, the baker is thinking about retirement, and the traditional owners are taking more and more of a lead in the tourism into the area. The Bungally Up CRC, you know, it gets its funding a little bit from the Shire, a bit from the Department for Regional Development, and actually gets a little bit from the Footy Club, where it does some secretariat support for them. It provides hot desking for visiting government agencies, some video conferencing, community programs with the Shire, does networking events for businesses, and as I said, that secretariat support for the Footy Club. So, you know, pretty common kind of CRC in terms of its mix. But all of that is really important to actually understand before we get into the rest of the engagement planning.